It's good?
Yep.
All right. Part two. So Jacob, kind of recap on where we were at. Wanted to ask the question of what performance factors do we focus on? I know you guys talked about placement ratio is an important one. What performance factors do we focus on here?
I mean, placement ratio would be a very big one to focus on. Probably one we should probably focus on more than we really do. Another one really is requests for illustrations. So if an agent comes in the door and they're asking us to, drum up this case that they've met with this client, and here's this particular situation, then that takes a while. It takes some thought. It takes a lot of design. You're shopping it out with 50 other life insurance carriers to fit the situation, and then you send off the illustrations. So sometimes in a given day, our illustration team's running about 300 or so illustrations. So if they're getting those illustrations out and the business isn't coming in from those, then we need to track how many outgoing cases are really going to the agent, and how much time we're spending on those cases going out, and how much is it translating into business. Mm-hmm. So that again is a little bit more of a complicated report to run, because we're working with 500 agents and they're requesting illustrations, and we're tracking those. Each one of those go into a folder. Every single one of those goes into the CRM, so that profile is created. But then you have to make the data translate from those cases, the size of those cases, and how much of those cases are turning into business. And that is something to really focus on for performance, because that's where a lot of your time is spent. As we sit here in this particular desk, we can't control as much of the business coming in the door. We can control the output, we can control our volume, but we can't control really the producer closing the business as much. And if we're seeing a producer struggle with it, and we're recognizing, hey, they're running 10 illustrations a week, and they're not placing more than one of them a month, then we need to find out where is the other 40 or where's the other 37 cases going. We need to go back and say, hey, where are we missing? Then we need to go back and do some coaching on those other cases and see if it's maybe going to another IMO and we're missing out on the business, which is something that we need to negotiate then.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're doing a pretty good job, or can we get better with those performance factors and monitoring those performance factors?
Oh, for sure. There's always ways to get better if you make it so that the data gets to you better in real time. If you've got a report that you come into the day with, and that report says you ran this many cases yesterday, and you go and say, okay, I ran these cases, I'm going to follow up and see where that business is at, and you go make a phone call or send an email, and the producer's telling you I did place that case with someone else, then you need to spend more time getting them to write the business with you. So yeah, I would say you're always getting better, but it's a matter of getting the data to get to you in a timely manner, and in a point in the day where you can really analyze it and say, okay, this is where I need to spend my time.
Okay, great. The one of the questions that I had, you run the life insurance division. Mm-hmm. As Gradient as a whole, there's obviously multiple divisions with inside Gradient's walls. What internal constraints does Gradient place on you as a life marketer, and can you improve it? What would you like to see be improved, if there are any internal constraints inside the
really it's a matter of building up each department. So right now our constraints might really fall into this producer might have a contracting issue. They can't get appointed with John Hancock or Prudential, and that's the case that works best for that situation. So we need somebody to go in and maybe negotiate with the company, find out why they're being rejected, have the client or have the agent go back in there. So that's a lot of the back office stuff. Once the client writes a piece of business, they've got to go through the full underwriting process. So now they have to, the client has to get a paramed exam, and We have to set that up. We might have to order medical records from their doctor's office. We might have to do a lot of stuff that involves not just getting the business in the door. So the efficiency with all of those other areas is starting to come around more. We've already implemented the everything's done electronically now with contracting, so everything's done in real time. Again, it's not you're not pushing papers, you're not sending fax as much, you're not you're not having to write it off all in paper. It's all done electronically in the internet. And then go back to what companies are doing now, and more companies are starting to transition to this, is they're starting to use all of their data analytics for health. So what they're doing is they're saying, hey, this perfectly healthy 25-year-old doesn't need to come in and get a paramed exam. They don't need to get their blood drawn, pee in a cup, do all the stuff. The way they live their life is all here. Everything that you do is recorded in these data analytics, and that we can improve their health class without having to go through all this work, which would save you, potentially a month of underwriting. So all these companies are moving towards that direction, and as the IMO, like us, we recognize that. We're pushing those particular companies to make us more efficient. If we start pushing business to some of these smaller companies that are not with the times yet, they're still kind of stuck in the Stone Age, is what I consider it, then it reflects on our business and it slows things down.
You think that increases or decreases our overhead too, by not having to go through all those underwriting pieces of it?
Yeah, I think it decreases overhead a lot. It makes the strain on the new business team and the amount of people that need to manage a particular case decrease. I mean, you can have one case manager manage over 100 cases now, versus maybe back in the day it took one case manager to do 50 cases. So it's very much more efficient and a lot less strenuous on each individual. It's more automated.
Okay. I just got a couple more questions here that we need to go through. We're still good on time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What data is not helpful in your decision-making process?
Data that's not helpful. Let's see here. Something I would probably look at the least. The data that I see is every single conversation being recorded. That's hard to really utilize efficiently. I might have a conversation with somebody 2 years ago, and now I got to go back and find that conversation. Well, if I'm recording every conversation that I have moving from that day forward, it's going to be hard to find. Yeah, it's necessary to have it, but how do I really use that data? How do I, make sure that I've really checked everything off the list with this particular individual? So as Gradient moves forward, we're really starting to move to some particular, I'd consider them blueprints that help us go through the process and the conversation so that we're not missing anything, rather than trying to remember, oh yeah, I had that conversation. Or if I don't remember I had the conversation, go look through a pile of notes that's in a CRM system to try and find it. So that is probably some of the least helpful that I've found, depending on how you use it. Haven't really discovered how to use it fully, but I think we're moving in that direction.
Awesome. What about the type of data that's not available to you right now and that could prove to be useful?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, data that could be, I want to say the word misconstrued, would be data that all of the carriers release. You see that some of the top life insurance carriers in the industry are maybe Northwestern Mutual or New York Life. Mm-hmm. And those particular kind of carriers are like agent direct carriers. They don't really play by the same rules as us, because we can use all 50 life insurance carriers or however many are out there. We can't use Northwestern Mutual. They're stuck. Their agents are stuck with that particular one product. So when they release data to say we're number one out there in this particular whole life, it kind of hurts, I think, the field, saying or the consumer, maybe brings in a little bit of confusion. So right now, I don't know if everyone's playing by the same rules or if it's easy for the consumer to really see it. But that's really what they're trying to do. It's really what the companies are trying to do. They're trying to be more, I guess, recognizable to the consumer so that it's easier for the agent to make the sell. If I say I'm selling Northwestern Mutual, if I'm selling John Hancock, recognize that with what they saw on TV, what they heard on the radio, what they saw on a NFL stadium, whatever it might be. They can say, oh, that must be a reputable place. So getting everybody to say, hey, this is the rules that we're all playing on. Everyone's being truthful. That can be some tough data to decipher through.
Yeah, certainly. What else should I know as a student or somebody else coming up through the ranks, getting their MBA or getting their secondary education? What else should they know about data and how it affects corporations these days?
Yeah, data is extremely helpful, and the people that fight the data and fight the change in technology are the ones that are starting to get moved aside, or they're getting forced to start using the data.
Like myself.
In a technology age, we're looking at our computers all day. I mean, you have 2 monitors that you stare at all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That's full of, I don't know how many tabs you keep up. I have 3 monitors that I look at all day long. I've got a continual list of emails coming in with 2 CRM systems that we use. On top of that, we've got softwares. So how to make it all manageable is really what we're trying to do. So how quickly you can decipher through the data and be organized to look through it and make quicker decisions is going to be extremely important. So every little trick, everything you can get to move quickly through a computer, to get your technology updated, get your phone updated, so it can have your email, so you don't have to come into the office and decipher through 30 emails that you got over the night. You might be able to do it while you're getting ready in the morning, or if you're sitting on the couch late at night, or something that's real easy. Not to say you have to continually work, but it becomes just easier of a lifestyle when you accept that you can utilize all the technology in front of you.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, that helps me with my research. I don't think I have any more questions for you, so I think that concludes. Do you have any questions for me as the student sitting on the other side of the table?
Not right now.
Alrighty, well, I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.